Like school, e-learning.
This question type 3 is called a campus task, which means it involves something that is on an American college campus. This question type has two parts to it. First, there is an announcement or a letter to the editor or some reading material that you have to read and absorb or find out the information. Sometimes it's an announcement from the school, or sometimes it's a student writing something, but either way, it's giving you the information that the second part, which is the conversation, will relate to. So this conversation is between a man and a woman, and they are talking about the new policy. Now, the question reads, the woman expresses her opinion of the announcement. State her opinion and explain the reason she gives for holding that opinion. And it's really important to read these questions very carefully, because oftentimes my students will say a opinion, but it's not the woman's opinion. It'll be the man's opinion. And that's not what the question is asking for. They'll often give you both opinions. They'll often be disagreeing. So you have to read carefully before the conversation starts, and then you can find out or be aware of who we're supposed to be paying attention to. So this announcement is from the university, and here I put an announcement, which is a new policy prohibiting, which means they're not allowing. You can't do it. It'll be against the rules. The use of personal, like your own microwave, MW, microwave. When you're taking notes, it's important to write them short. You only have 30 seconds, or in some cases 20 seconds or 15. So you must write quick notes. So for me, MW makes me think microwave. So you are not allowed to have a microwave on campus or in your dorm room anymore. And there's a fine, or they will charge you $100, or give or take 100,000 won. And the man disagrees with this announcement. So in red I put disagrees. But keep in mind that we want the woman's opinion. So we are going to give the man's opinion, but we're going to spend most of our speaking time talking about the woman's opinion. And she thinks it's a good policy. She thinks it's a good idea. And she has three main reasons for it. First, she lives on a floor where there's many art majors. In college dorm rooms, in college dorms, it's like an apartment. There's a whole row of rooms, and it's very small, and you hear everything that's going on, and what affects one person affects everybody. So she's concerned because these art majors have many flammable materials. Flammable, and I put just flam because it's easier. Materials or things, such as oil-based paints. Keep in mind that it's paints, the actual liquid that you paint with, and not paintings. They're not the piece of art. It's the tool that you make the piece of art with. And with these oil-based paints, if a fire starts, if there is a fire, if one of the students burns their food or has a candle going or something like that, but in this case we're talking about microwaves, so if the microwaves start any fire, it'll spread quickly because of these oil-based paints. And if it spreads to the paints, it could spread to something else, like the curtains and then the bed, and then the whole dorm room will catch on fire, and that will be really bad for everyone. My first year of college, there was a fire. I lived on the 3rd floor of the dormitory, and there was a fire on the 4th floor of the dormitory, and it turned out to be a mattress. And they took the mattress, and they couldn't find it for a long time because the 4th floor was very small. And the alarm kept going off and making this big noise. But eventually they found the mattress that was on fire, and they threw it out the window. So adventures like that happen in college, and this woman is worried that these oil-based paints will just make any fire worse. She's also in favor of the fine, meaning she thinks the fine is a good idea. Remember this fine of $100? And her reason for that is if students have enough money to pay for a microwave, they can have enough money for the fine. So afford. Afford is a very good word here. Afford means to have enough money or have enough resources to pay for that or do what you want to do. So if you can afford to pay for a microwave, you can afford to pay the fine. So she doesn't have any sympathy or feel badly for anybody who is fined this $100. She thinks it's a good idea. And last of all, she thinks it contributes to the overall safety of the people in the dormitory. As I said, if what affects one person affects everybody, so it's better to have stricter rules that are for the benefit of everybody rather than just the pleasure or the convenience of a few. Oftentimes college dorms will also have a kitchen where you can cook. So it doesn't say this in the conversation, but for your own knowledge, there will be a kitchen with a microwave. So it's not really necessary to have your own microwave. So don't buy one when you go off to college. So this is how my notes look when I am doing this. I separate, I put a W for woman because I want to make sure that I know I am giving the woman's opinion. And then I break it up into three main reasons. And then if you indent a little bit, these are explanations of a specific reason. So flammable materials like oil-based paints will start a fire or will spread a fire. So these are reasons to explain the big reason. So there's only three main reasons. So be aware of that. Often my students will believe that there are many, many, many reasons when there are only three or two or three. So often the big reasons will have explanations or sort of smaller reasons to make that reason more important. So when you're making your answer, be aware of that. Make sure that you're only speaking. There's one or two reasons. There's not five. And be sure to break up your speaking. The testers will actually be listening for transition words. So some of the transition words we could put here is first. First. She lives on a floor with many art majors that have flammable materials such as oil-based paint, so if a fire starts, the fire will spread easily. Second, she's in favor of the fine because if you can afford a microwave, you can afford to pay the fine. And lastly, it's for the overall safety. So for these reasons, she thinks that this new policy is a good idea. So when you're listening to my answer, look for those three main reasons and also for those transitions. Take a look.